Effective immediately, all staff must adhere to revised dress code standards outlined in Section 14B of the new HR compliance memo. Any clothing deviating from traditional weaves may result in disciplinary action. The email landed at 7:03 a.m. on a foggy Tuesday, timestamped before Kyla even finished stirring her instant oatmeal at the break room counter. Subject line: polish and professionalism, team. Classic Heather style, emojis and forced cheer. Monica Reeves, 52, compliance lead, read the memo twice from her dimly lit cubicle near the janitor's closet. That flickering fluorescent bulb overhead made every moment feel like a low-budget interrogation scene. She knew exactly who the email was targeting. Nobody else in that St. Louis field office wore tailored navy trousers from Nordstrom. Most opted for wrinkled chinos or clung to ill-fitted polyester skirts. But Monica dressed like her job meant something. Quietly, neatly, which apparently made her threatening. Heather, 33, the HR manager with a faux progressive vibe and a drawer full of scented gel pens, had it out for Monica, ever since discovering their salaries weren't as different as she'd assumed. Her assistant, Clara, who toted a rainbow clipboard like it was sacred, once snarked that Monica dressed like she was auditioning for an old Cold War film. The hallway still chuckled at that line. Monica didn't blink. She never did. That was her edge. No eye rolls, no drama, just her usual, real work. Reviewing Air Force contract language, checking restricted data tags, syncing encryption status with federal systems. The kind of job nobody noticed until it failed. The kind of work she did flawlessly. Most of them didn't even know what CUI meant. Monica did. And she had the clearance to prove it. After months of background checks, reference interviews, and a surprise home inspection involving two flat-faced agents asking how often she updated her firewall settings, she earned something rare. A small, black-level clearance badge tucked in a leather holder, issued by the Defense Security Service. No one in that office knew about it, and Monica had no intention of telling them. Why would she? That kind of authority didn't belong in the hands or the mouth of someone like Clara. Monica kept the badge tucked deep in her purse, inside a reinforced leather case designed to block scans. Quiet, hidden, waiting. At exactly 10:17 a.m., Heather strutted down the hallway in her usual cloud of citrus body spray and ego, then made a dramatic pivot into Monica's cubicle. "Monica!" she sang, stretching the name like bubblegum. "Just wanted to check in. Did you get a chance to review the updated dress code?" Monica didn't look up. "I did." "And?" Heather asked. "Nothing in there applies to me." Clara appeared instantly, clipboard in hand like it had summoned her. "We're really aiming for a cohesive look across departments," she chirped. "And you know, sometimes those older styles send mixed messages." Monica finally looked up. "Mixed messages? To whom? The Department of the Air Force?" Clara's smile twitched. Heather stepped in. "Just making sure everyone's aligned. Some folks don't always realize when they're towing the line." "I don't tow lines," Monica replied, voice level. "I write them. Section 16. I of the Federal Compliance Directive overrides any HR memo. I'm sure you already knew that." Heather's cheeks stiffened. She didn't respond, just flashed that familiar fake smile, the one that never reached her eyes, and spun on her heel. Clara scurried after her, whispering something that made them both laugh like they'd just flipped the fire alarm for fun. Monica turned back to her monitor, but something inside her shifted. That cold, twitching sensation, sabotage. She'd felt it before, like the time her promotion paperwork got lost 3 years in a row, or when she trained a new hire who got promoted over her within 6 months. But this was messier, petty, a warning shot. And when small minds get bold, they become dangerous. Monica's eyes slid to her purse. The badge rested beside a packet of almonds and her old BlackBerry charger. Silent but potent. It was a government seal of trust, the kind no amount of office gossip could touch. She didn't earn it by fitting in. She earned it by staying invisible, until someone made visibility a weapon. "Monica, those slacks are interesting." Heather's voice sang out like a passive-aggressive lullaby. Monica blinked, once, slowly. The trousers in question were a tailored pair of slate gray, mid-rise wool slacks with a delicate herringbone weave, subtle enough to look like shadow work. But apparently, in Heather's personal courtroom of corporate couture, nuanced fabric patterns now ranked alongside policy violations. Heather circled her cubicle like a motivational speaker who'd overdosed on Pinterest quotes. Wasn't sure if you caught the update last week? Textile conformity, Section 14B. You read the handbook, right? Monica took a long, calm sip of her black coffee. I edited the handbook. For grammar. Found 3 typos, by the way. Heather gave a forced, high-pitched laugh and shifted her stance. We're just aiming for consistency across teams, that's all. Those pants, chic in a Downton Abbey kind of way, don't exactly scream modern federal standard. Clara popped up behind her like a cartoon sidekick. It's about cohesion, she chirped. Team synergy starts with fabric integrity. Monica turned toward them, posture upright, expression unreadable. Is this a formal HR complaint? Heather blinked. No, of course not. Just a conversation. Peer to peer. Woman to woman. Good, Monica replied smoothly. Because this woman's contract doesn't recognize conversations based on personal taste disguised as policy enforcement. Out of the corner of her eye, she spotted her supervisor, Joel, hovering in the hallway like an actor who missed his cue. He made eye contact, then did a swift U-turn into the stairwell. Not even a shrug. Just managerial vapor. Heather leaned in slightly, tone dipped in sugar. We're just ensuring we're all seen as reliable professionals, especially with sensitive work coming up, high-level contracts. Ah, so she suspected something. Maybe a glimpse of the black badge. Maybe Clara had peeked into her desk. This wasn't about pants anymore. This was about power. If you believe quiet strength speaks louder than corporate chaos, tap subscribe. Because Monica's story isn't over, and the next chapter is where the real power begins. Wrong impression? Monica asked, locking eyes. From who? The Air Force? I think they're more concerned about redacted intel than herringbone. Heather's smile twitched. We have standards, she said tightly. You have obsessions, Monica replied calmly. I have clearance. That hit like a direct blow. Heather opened her mouth to fire back, but came up empty. She gave a stiff, overly rehearsed shrug and walked off, though not before casting one last scornful glance at Monica's slacks, as if the fabric had insulted her HR certification from whatever weekend seminar handed it out with a mimosa. The hallway buzzed again, the kind of tension that trails petty power plays. No one said anything, but Monica could feel the glances behind frosted glass, eyes pretending not to stare. Corporate theater. Everyone claimed to hate drama, until it came with free coffee and front-row seats. She walked back to her desk, her heels clicking like metronomes of quiet fury. She didn't slam her keyboard. She didn't launch a scorched earth email. She just stared at her monitor longer than necessary. Then, calm and practiced, she opened her locked drawer, pulled out her black notebook, and flipped past pages of policy memos and compliance charts. She stopped on a page labeled Lines Crossed. She added today's date. Beneath it, 2 words, Textile War. At 3:12 p.m., a new email arrived. Subject line, HR Matter. Immediate attention required. No greeting, no message, just a calendar attachment. 15-minute slot, room 3C. Monica stared at it for a long moment, then stood, slowly, as if walking to her own execution. The quiet click of her badge locking her terminal sounded louder than it should have. Her cubicle, with its labeled folders and neatly stacked compliance briefs, suddenly looked foreign, like it belonged to someone who no longer existed. She walked down the hall like someone giving her last tour, past interns pretending to read spreadsheets. Joel's office, shut, blinds drawn, typical. Room 3C was already occupied when she arrived. Heather sat at the head of the table, iPad angled just so, like she was prepping a keynote on petty authority. Clara sat beside her, fidgeting with a pastel gel pen. On the left was Mr. Alan Price, senior OPS manager, who once congratulated Monica on a 78-page audit with, Wow, that's thorough. He looked like he'd been tricked into attending his own trial. Monica, Heather said sweetly, thank you for joining us. I was told to, Monica replied, taking her seat with practiced poise. Heather continued, voice polished and eyes gleaming. Due to repeated noncompliance with the revised dress code policy and a documented pattern of insubordination, the company has no choice but to terminate your employment, effective immediately. Clara handed Monica a 2-page document with final notice, stamped in aggressive red across the top like a warning label on faulty machinery. You've been warned multiple times, Heather added, her tone clipped. This morning's incident was simply, she didn't cry. She didn't shake. What she felt was emptier, like something had been sucked out of her that used to believe professionalism still meant something. I see, she said evenly. Just to confirm, I'm being terminated over a pair of slacks. Heather gave a brisk nod. Among other concerns, Clara jumped in, hesitating. Your tone, occasional resistance, comments that might undermine leadership, including your own. Heather's smile twitched. Let's not make this harder than it needs to be. Monica gave a dry laugh, hollow and sharp. You already did. When you criminalized tailored wool. Heather leaned forward, smug. We say it often. Policies are only as strong as our willingness to enforce them. Behind Monica, through the glass wall, her locked terminal flickered. None of them noticed at first, but she did. DSS system check-in, overdue. The screen dimmed. A pulsing blue alert. Heather turned, caught a glimpse, and smirked. Guess you won't need that anymore. Monica didn't flinch, just stared at the screen. The air thickened. Her fingertips buzzed with pressure, not panic, but something colder. Clara stepped in. Please collect your belongings. IT will escort you out. Of course, Monica replied calmly. Wouldn't want to cause a federal breach. Heather laughed. Don't be dramatic, Monica. She said nothing, just turned for the door, then paused. You just fired the only person here who knows how to stop your federal contract from collapsing like a folding chair in a windstorm. 3 blank faces stared back. Monica smiled. Enjoy your fabric integrity. The walk back to her desk felt longer than usual, as if the office itself had stretched to savor her humiliation. The cardboard box they handed Monica was insultingly small, more appropriate for sympathy cards than actual belongings. A single sheet of bubble wrap drifted inside like a token gesture of corporate pity. Monica didn't cry, didn't tremble, but she felt it, crawling slowly up her spine. The quiet kind of shame, not loud or theatrical. The kind that nestles into your bones and rattles with every awkward, "Are you okay?" from coworkers who'd never once spoken to her before today. She passed the marketing pod first. No one said a word. Amelia looked up briefly, blinked, then stared intently at her keyboard like it held the secrets of the universe. Daniel offered a weak nod, the same one you'd give a stranger near the freezer section at Costco. Down the hall in accounts, one of the interns mouthed, "I'm so sorry," eyes wide with the kind of panic reserved for car wrecks and terminations. Monica returned a polite, empty smile. She kept walking. When she reached her cubicle, Joel was standing there, awkward as ever, hands shoved deep in his pockets like a teenager who'd been caught cheating. Hey, he cleared his throat. Sorry to see you go, Monica. She tilted her head. Are you? He opened his mouth, said nothing, then nodded. Well, good luck out there. And just like that, he vanished, retreating into the warm shelter of managerial cowardice. Fitting, really. The same man who once spent 10 minutes in a meeting preaching team values, while she quietly fixed a federal compliance gap that would have cost them $400,000. The desk was still technically hers for another 10 minutes. She packed calmly, a photo of her and her sister at Bryce Canyon. Her mug that read, "Trust, but verify." Legal pads filled with procurement codes. The little cactus she'd saved from Clara's overwatering. Everything went in the box, except the badge. It sat under her keyboard, untouched. Matte black, with its ARFID code embossed near the edge. She lifted it gently, then slid it into the DSS-issued blocking sleeve marked Property of DSS. Do not discard. Heather never even asked what that screen alert meant. Monica zipped her bag, slung it over her shoulder, and took one last look, not at the people, but at the paper. The file still blinking on Monica's screen. Half-finished data logs, encryption flags, classification tags, each one a thread in the $50 million contract she'd been stitching together alone for months. Now fraying, now untended. She walked toward the elevator. No one followed. At the front desk, a wiry man from IT in a stretched-out hoodie waited. He couldn't meet her eyes as he handed over a sealed envelope. Final paycheck. COBRA info. He muttered. Lovely, Monica said, dropping it into her box like a crumpled napkin. The elevator doors opened. She stepped in, turned slowly, and watched the lobby shrink away. The glass walls, the fake ficus, the forced smiles, the whole illusion of office harmony. She didn't cry, but something had begun forming deep in her chest. Not grief, not rage, resolve. Cold, precise, metallic. Something had been set in motion, and no one left in that building had the clearance to see it coming. Monica had just begun peeling the barcode sticker off her badge when the glass doors whooshed open behind her with a gust of late afternoon wind. Not the aimless drift of a sales representative or intern. This had purpose. She glanced up from the vinyl lobby chair just in time to see them. One man, one woman, both in perfectly fitted dark suits, gliding across the floor like they owned the gravitational pull of the room. No company logos, no lanyards, but posture that said federal. They weren't here for onboarding. The man, tall, crisp haircut, tie centered like a ruler snapped in place. The woman, tight bun, walking half a step ahead, eyes scanning everything like she was tracking heat signatures. Both wore black lapel pins with a silver ring and the unmistakable eagle emblem. Monica's breath caught. DSS, not Data System Support, not some tech vendor acronym. Defense Security Service, the kind who didn't knock unless protocol had already been torched and buried under a desk full of HR memos. The woman approached reception with a voice like sealed metal. We need to speak with Gerald Shaw, head of security, and Evelyn Carr, your CEO. Immediately. Reception blinked. They're both in meetings. Can I? The man leaned in, calm but heavy. Not a request. The phone lifted fast. Monica held the envelope tightly, the one containing her final paycheck and Cobra packet, the paper edges crinkling under her fingers. She sat still in the lobby, posture calm, but her mind racing. Payroll deadlines, severance math, the half-eaten yogurt still in the break room fridge. All of it faded in the wake of one electric realization. The system, check-in, the badge deactivation, the protocol window DSS had flagged. Someone in that building had tripped the wire. Maybe it was Heather, oblivious and overeager, signing off on Monica's offboarding without initiating a full security wipe. Or maybe Clara accessed the wrong shared folder, one Monica had partitioned with federal instructions. It didn't matter now. It was happening. Monica adjusted her purse strap, hands just slightly unsteady. She kept her head down, feigning disinterest, but her ears locked onto every word. The receptionist hung up. They'll be down shortly, she said quietly. The woman in the dark suit nodded. The man's gaze swept the room, steady, practiced. It landed briefly on Monica, held for a beat, then moved on. He didn't recognize her. Not yet. Monica exhaled, a slow, careful breath. Deep in her chest, something ancient cracked open, a blend of adrenaline and vindication. She wasn't overreacting. She wasn't being petty. She hadn't lost her job over pants. She'd been fired in breach of a federal clearance protocol. And now, the professionals had arrived. The air shifted. Even the walls felt tense. Two marketing associates exited the elevator, mid-laugh, until they saw the suits. One mouthed, "Oh no!" and turned right back around. Monica remained seated, still, steady. But inside, the balance had tilted. The humiliation of the past hour was vaporizing, replaced by something colder and cleaner. They had no idea what they'd just done. The elevator dinged. Executive override. She didn't have to look up. She heard it. The rapid clack of heels. Forced calm masking full panic. Heather appeared, flanked by Clara, clipboard missing for the first time ever. Heather's posture was shattered. Walong pageant-ready poise. Just pure damage control. She passed Monica without a word, but her eyes flicked, made contact, and recoiled instantly, like she just touched live current. Monica didn't move, didn't blink, just took a slow sip of the lukewarm coffee she'd been nursing since her own walk of shame, now watching, with composed detachment, as that shame rocketed back toward its origin. The conference room door clicked open behind them. "Miss Carr," came Agent Rossi's voice. Cool, deliberate, sharp enough to cut through glass. Heather turned so fast her badge lanyard snapped sideways. "Yes, of course," she stammered. "Inside. Now!" She disappeared through the door. Clara wasn't invited. She hovered in the hallway like a ghost turned away from the underworld. The door closed with padded finality, making the receptionist flinch. The office was too quiet again. A few curious heads peeked over cubicle walls, pretending to reorganize printer paper. Muffled voices echoed from inside the room. Phrases like unauthorized access, classified credentials, breach of federal asset protocol. Then came the weight of Agent Miller's voice. Low, precise. "You terminated her without notifying DSS." Silence. Then chaos. Evelyn Carr, CEO, finally emerged from the elevator. Gone was her composed executive veneer. She looked panicked, her silk blouse creased, lipstick smeared, ID badge clipped upside down. She marched toward the lobby like the floor was crumbling beneath her. She froze when she saw Monica. "Monica!" she gasped, voice too bright, too rehearsed. Could we speak privately? Just for a moment?" Monica didn't rise. "I no longer work here," she said evenly, loud enough for the wide-eyed intern behind the ficus to hear. "You'll have to make an appointment." Evelyn's mouth opened, closed. She swallowed. "Please, just a quick—" Monica stood, calm as an earthquake right before the rupture. Her purse hung from one shoulder. Inside, the black DSS badge rested like a silent detonation trigger. "I'm sure your team can manage," she said softly. "It's just fabric after all, right?" Evelyn's face collapsed under the weight of realization. This wasn't theoretical anymore. Monica stepped past her without hesitation. Behind her, the conference room door opened again. Heather emerged, face pale, hands trembling. She mouthed something defensive, desperate. Monica didn't stop, didn't look back. She already knew exactly what their faces looked like. They looked like justice. The click of polished shoes on tile stopped Monica cold, sharp, deliberate, nothing like the rushed shuffle of interns or Clara's kitten-heeled skittering. No, these steps carried weight, purpose, authority. She turned just as Agents Miller and Rossi approached from behind. "Ms. Reeves," Agent Rossi said, tone clipped but respectful. Monica raised an eyebrow, half-turned. "Still am, unless you plan to revoke that too." Agent Miller offered the faintest smile. "We understand today's events were unexpected. We'd appreciate a moment of your time." Behind them, the elevator pinged again. The doors opened to reveal Evelyn Carr, breathless, red-faced, and Heather, eyes puffy, mascara streaked, posture crumpled. They froze mid-step, like students caught cheating mid-exam. "Of course," Monica said, adjusting the strap on her purse. "Let's talk." The agents flanked her, one on each side, not escorting her away, but walking with her. Calm, clear. They didn't lead her into the panic-filled conference room. They paused near the reception desk, in full view of the entire office. The message was intentional. This wasn't detainment. This was respect. "Ms. Reeves," Agent Miller began, "we're reviewing the internal failure to notify DSS about your clearance status. Your record is flawless. Your work on encrypted data protocols in Q1 caught considerable attention." Rossi nodded. "We'll have questions, but primarily, we'd like your cooperation in the next phase. The contract remains, The mission continues. The contractor may not. Monica inhaled slowly. That cold, clear sense of balance returned. Everything had just shifted. She glanced sideways. Evelyn stood beside the ficus, sweat soaking her blouse like a map of regret. Heather looked like she might fold in half. Clara was gone, vanished into the paperwork she once weaponized. Evelyn stepped forward, voice trembling, desperation barely masked. Monica, look, let's be reasonable. There were missteps. We'd like to offer your position back. Monica said nothing. An adjustment, Evelyn stammered. 15% raise, senior title, full reinstatement, in writing, today. The silence was suffocating. Monica didn't flinch. They didn't understand. They weren't offering a position. They were offering a lifeline. Everyone in the lobby froze. The receptionist stopped typing mid-keystroke. A junior executive outside, halfway through a vape drag, paused with the device still hovering near her lips. Even the ficus looked offended. Monica tilted her head slightly, gaze calm, voice sharper than glass. The salary you're offering, she said coolly, wouldn't cover the therapy it would take to forget working here. Silence, total. Evelyn's mouth opened like she wanted to protest, but nothing came out. She turned to the agents, defeated. Where would you like to talk? Agent Rossi nodded. We have a field office across town, but there's no rush. You're not under review. She paused, gaze firm. We're simply inviting you to help fix what they broke. Monica allowed herself a small, rare smirk. The first hint of satisfaction all day. They broke a lot. Agent Miller held the door open. Monica stepped between them, walking past frozen expressions, stunned stares, and an org chart that no longer applied to her. She didn't feel rehired. She felt upgraded. They had barely made it 3 steps toward the parking lot when Agent Miller's phone buzzed. He stopped mid-stride, checked the screen, and muttered, 1 minute. His tone didn't change, but Monica saw something flash in his eyes, that subtle flicker of confirmation. The kind you only get after enough red flags stack into a full-scale breach. He turned on his heel and strode back inside, motioning for Agent Rossi to stay with Monica. Won't take long. Back inside, the building had quieted to that eerie post-fire drill stillness. Everyone pretending to work, no one actually breathing. Monica didn't follow, but she could see it all through the glass. Agent Miller didn't knock. He marched past reception, past Evelyn's panicked assistant, and straight into the fishbowl conference room like he had clearance. Which he did. Evelyn stood there, hands tight on her hips, trying to hold together the illusion of control. Miller dropped a single manila folder onto the glass table. The air changed. The conversation began low and clipped. Monica watched. Evelyn's jaw tightened. Heather hovered like a ghost who finally realized the house was haunted. Then Miller opened the folder, and everything snapped. Agent Miller's voice was no longer quiet. It echoed. Mishandling of a cleared federal asset. Irreversible internal security violations. No fewer than 6 failed protocols, each signed off by your HR department. Evelyn tried to stand her ground, but her hands trembled. There's got to be a fix, she said. Some clause, some workaround. This contract is our lifeline. Miller didn't flinch. Your eligibility for the $50 million federal contract is now void. Silence hit like a blackout. The breach has triggered a full DSS audit. Your company is now under formal review, effective immediately. Then came the final blow. Heather Lang has been identified as the origin point of the breach. Her credentials are now invalid. Expect formal notification by close of business. It landed like a sniper shot. Heather dropped into the nearest chair, her face blank, blinking like she'd been pulled from a coma. Monica could see her lips form the word how, but no one answered. The conference room door hissed open. Agent Miller stepped out into the lobby. Monica raised an eyebrow. All set, he said with a nod. Notified? Every last one. A few steps behind him, Evelyn followed, deflated, soaked in sweat, her eyes glassy. She looked at Monica like she just watched her career disintegrate, and Monica had never lifted a finger. Heather emerged next, makeup streaked like prison bars down her cheeks. She didn't meet Monica's gaze. Couldn't. Monica didn't smile. Didn't gloat. She just looked at them, steady and silent. This wasn't revenge. It wasn't even satisfaction. It was colder, like watching a ship sink that never should have sailed. The building behind her still stood, but everything inside had collapsed. The glass doors whispered shut behind her for the last time. No box, no files, just her bag, her badge, and the smell of ego burned clean off like scorched wallpaper. Outside, the air felt different. Lighter, sharper, charged. She paused on the concrete landing, watching the sky split open like it too, had decided she'd earned a little theater. Agent Rossi joined her, heels sharp against the pavement. "You handled that well?" she said. "I handled it quietly," Monica replied. "There's a difference. Especially when a primary contractor is compromised, as yours clearly was." Monica turned the cream-colored card over between her fingers. No title, no department, just a name, a direct number, and the embossed seal of the Defense Security Service. "I assume the pay's better," she said dryly. Agent Rossi gave a knowing nod. "Better, cleaner, saner." Monica raised an eyebrow. "You work for the federal government. Sanity isn't the word I'd reach for." Rossi smiled faintly. "We prefer working with people who understand protocol, people who don't flinch when someone in HR waves authority they don't actually have, people who stay quiet, stay sharp, and strike when it counts." Her tone dipped slightly, more intentional now. "The project still matters, Monica. The file doesn't disappear just because the contractor self-destructed. This thing still needs to happen. Give us a call next week." She tapped the edge of the card twice against Monica's palm before sliding her hands back into her coat and walking off with the poise of someone who already knew how this ended. Monica stood there a moment longer, watching Rossi vanish around the corner. The buzz of downtown St. Louis filled the space again. Cars, crosswalk signals, someone's distant ringtone. The world resumed like nothing had happened. And maybe to the world, nothing had. But Monica knew better. This was her world now. Not cupcakes in break rooms, not fake synergy huddles or 4:30 p.m. invites disguised as feedback sessions. Not pleated slacks and leadership retreats led by people who couldn't define clearance protocol if it was stapled to their expense report. The real world was made in silence and sealed documents and decisions that never touched a whiteboard. And she wasn't drifting in it anymore. She was anchored. She slid the DSS card into the same coat pocket that held her badge, together, like matching keys to a future no one in that building had seen coming. Then she walked to her car. No dramatic pause, no slow-motion goodbye, just sunlight, pavement, and the quiet comfort of knowing the house had burned and she was the only one who walked out without a blister. Let them rebuild. Let them scramble. Let them lie awake, wondering how she sleeps at night.